Yo, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be fixing the Oblivion Remaster performance. This is a mod that will replace an INI file in our My Documents folder. It's pretty easy to do. And on top of increasing your FPS, this is also going to remove any stuttering, film grain, chromatic aberration, which a lot of people don't like, including myself. And it's going to optimize the DLSS FSR upscaling method as well. Alright, so prior to installing this mod and replacing that file, you can see right now we're in the Imperial City in the market area, and my frames per second is around 60 to 70, depending on where I am in the city area. And then let's go into an interior real quick and do a quick test here. So inside of this interior, we're getting roughly like 90 FPS at this like merchant here. 90 to 95, depending on how I'm looking around in this building. Another thing, this mod is supposed to try to get rid of some of the stuttering as well, or at least attempts to smooth it out. So let's go ahead and install it and see what kind of performance differences we get in game. Alright, so here we are on the Nexus mod page, and I'll link this in the description below so you guys can easily get to it. But this is the ultimate engine tweaks, anti-stutters, low latency, no film grain, no chromatic aberration, lossless mod. Yep, that is a mouthful. So you can go and read about it here. And if we scroll down, it'll give us some instructions on where to place this file. So if you're running this game on Xbox Game Pass, like I am currently, you're going to want to go to My Documents, My Games, Oblivion Remastered, Saved, Config, and WinGDK. So this is going to be the only difference with the Steam version. With the Steam version, you're going to go all the way to Config, and it's actually going to be located in the Windows folder. So that's just a small difference. The only other thing we'll want to do is we want to make sure that we right click on the file and make sure it's set to read only so that updates cannot replace the file in the future. So let's go ahead and download it. And there's two different versions here. There's one no VRR and then one with VRR. So I have a VRR display, which stands for variable refresh rate, so a G-Sync or FreeSync monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this version here. And let's see, it doesn't really matter where we save it. I'm just going to put it on my mod drive. I'm going to put my screen into split screen so we can just go ahead and replace the file. So this is it here. We're going to have to extract the file. So I'm just going to put it here on this drive for now. And then we're going to go navigate to that folder. So the Documents, then My Games, and then Oblivion Remastered, Saved, Config, and then WinGDK in my case. It's going to be the Windows folder if you're running the Steam version. They're saying just to replace the file. In my case, I think I want to make a backup of this just in case. So I'm just going to call it like INI old. If I can learn how to type. And let's go ahead and just cut and paste it over to my drive where I keep all my mods and whatnot. And then I'm just going to drag the new copy over into this folder. And then one last thing we want to do, I think it's preset to be read only in the file properties. If we go to properties here, we just want to make sure that it's set to attributes, and then this box here checked to read only so that any updates don't replace it in the future. Now let's launch this game and see what kind of performance we're getting now. All right, so here we are back in game in the same area in the Imperial City in the market area. And I can already tell that my frame rate's gone well up. Now we're shooting closer to 75, 76 FPS. Kind of in that range, almost 80 sometimes, which is pretty wild. Still shoots down into the 60s here and there, but we're hanging around high 60s running through here. Now let's go ahead and check out an interior real quick. We'll go into the same place, keep things consistent. So here we are in the exact same shop, where earlier we were getting like 90, and now we're breaking 100 FPS. And just quick disclaimer, I do run these at 4K because I have a pretty beefy system. And I also have a 4K monitor. So I'm getting 105 FPS at 4K, which is just like wild. Amazing. Like, I'm breaking almost 110 sometimes in here. So let's go test out one other area real quick. And then I'll also show you guys in a little bit here how to mess with some of the DLSS settings, because just recently in an update, they decided to get rid of those DLSS settings. And I'm not sure if that was intentional or if that was a mistake on Bethesda's part. I'm going to go over here to this inn where I'm pretty familiar with the performance through here. And typically I would be getting around like 50. And now once it levels out a little bit, I'm getting about through this area. Wow. Now I'm breaking about 80. Yeah, this is a solid tweak. Definitely highly recommended if you have a PC, and it's super easy to do. I mean, you might as well. So one last thing here, like I said earlier, I'm going to show you guys how to mess with some of the DLSS settings. So I noticed, scrolling down to the bottom here, that for some reason the upscaling technique for DLSS or XeSS or FSR for AMD, and also the anti-aliasing is grayed out, and I can't change the upscaling technique. So what I figured out is you can do so now in the console, and we can get to the console commands by hitting the tilde button on your keyboard. It's gonna bring up a window like this. Now, just a word of caution, and you can see it right here. It says use of console commands will disable achievements. I have not confirmed if changing these settings will disable achievements. I personally don't care as much about achievements, but I know it's very important to a lot of my viewers. So just proceed with caution when changing any of these settings. So if you want to change any of the DLSS settings, we can actually search for it. So DLSS, and there's 4 settings here. I can go up and down with the arrows on my keyboard to look at them. So I've got sharpness, quality, FG, and then enabled. So enabled, if you click on any of these, it'll tell you what the value is. So let's just click on this one. And it says DLSS enabled equals 1. So that means that DLSS is currently enabled, which is part of this engine's mod tweak. It does enable DLSS, but it's trying to improve on DLSS to make things look a little better. So if we go up to quality here, you can see there's a bunch of different settings. So 2 would be DLAA, 4 would be quality, 5 is balanced. That's what it's currently set at. 6 performance, 7 ultra performance. So if you want to say set it to quality, because I know right now it's set to balanced. Yeah, so it's set to balanced. So DLSS, go back to quality, and then we'll hit space equals 4 for quality mode. Now it's set to quality mode. And then some other settings you can mess with. I do like messing with the sharpness to make things look a little better. I typically like to set my sharpness to like 30 to 40 to 50 range. In this case, I guess we'll just set it to 40, and this is out of 100. So I'm going to set that to 40, and you can already tell that my landscape on the bottom kind of got a little sharper. And then the other setting that you can mess with, I'm probably going to keep this one off, but it's your frame generation. But for the sake of this guide, let's just see what kind of performance we get when we turn it on. Right now, I know for a fact it's turned off. So we'll do equals space 1, enter. And you can see my performance overlay in the top left here, that we're now getting 103 frames per second with the frame generation on. And a lot of people don't like the frame generation because it can cause some ghosting effects, especially in this game. And it also adds quite a bit of render latency from what I'm seeing in my frame time over there. Although I'm not really noticing it to be too terrible, but again, I will probably end up just keeping that off for the sake of playing this game on my system, because I'm really just trying to target 60 FPS. So go ahead and just turn that off real quick. Equals 0, enter. Okay, now we're back to what our standard settings were before when we turned on the quality mode. And there's one other thing we can do to try to keep our latency and our render frame time smooth. is we can use a program called Riva Statistics Tuner. It comes paired with MSI Afterburner. So if I go to Riva Statistics Tuner here, there's the frame limit, and we can set a global override. So let's just set it to say like 50. Hit enter. And then we can go back in here, and you can see that our frame time graph has now completely flatlined. Now it is going to increase a little bit of render latency, but it's going to make your game like pretty much buttery smooth. And another thing that's actually interesting, I just thought of this. I'm going to try to turn on the frame generation and see, because I noticed that there was quite a bit of frame time jumping around with the frame gen on. And I'm curious, let's actually go ahead and make this 0 to see what we're getting. Okay, so we're getting around like 120, which is pretty wild. So let's go back to Riva Statistics Tuner and try to cap it at say like 100. And then we'll go back to the game here. And there you go. Now you have frame generation, and we're locked in at 100 FPS, and we've got nearly a flat frame time. So anyway, that'll do it for this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know down below. My channel is focused a lot around mods and a lot of mod lists. I do a lot of mod list reviews for Skyrim, PC optimization, performance testing. So if any of that interests you, subscribe to the channel. And as always, have a wonderful day.